Hey guys, welcome back. In the last video we went over how to do like little trim pieces and blackout tape or just any black vinyl essentially if you want to black out some chrome. Now we're doing handles that have chrome on it. Most of the time I prefer to usually take the handle off so that I can get a really good coverage all around, make sure that it's all tucked in. This case that we're not going to be removing the door handles, so all we're doing is just wrapping the surface area obviously and trying our best, and I'll show you a technique on how to get in there and make sure every bit of chrome is covered without taking the handles off.
Okay, what are you doing right now?
Right now I'm alcohol wiping, so to say. This will get rid of any grease, any fingerprints, etc, etc. This is a really good step in decontamination. After you alcohol, most of the time vinyl likes to stick way better to surfaces if it is alcohol. This is what, 70% I think rubbing alcohol, nothing too crazy. I'm just making sure that I get in every little groove possible, because if you, for example, don't get and do this little tedious little part, what might happen is when you wrap and try and wrap around here, the vinyl will not stick. So it's kind of important to make sure you get every little bit possible alcoholed. Okay, get in here. Tip of the day, go get your nails done so that you can have little squeegee utensils just built in your fingers. I mean, I don't know, what better life hack can you ask for, honestly? Look at this. Bam. Okay, now I'm grabbing just a little bit of like wax. This is not necessary at all, but it's something I do as a preference because I absolutely can't stand adhesive lines. I think I said that in the last video too, but I just do just the outside, like the center areas. I'm not gonna wax the, what's it called, the edges. So just the center, just to make sure that no alcohol, sorry, wow.
So this is what you use?
Yeah, this is not my preferred one. I need a different one. And then after I wax it, I want to go over the edges just in case, because I want my edges to stick, but I don't want the center to tack right away, if that makes sense. Okay, now you make sure that the rest of the surrounding area is all wiped off. You don't want some random dirt speck flying in like that. Look at that. Oh, that's not dirt speck, but anyways. So the material we're using is Vivid. It is not my preferred material at all. The roll of material that I ordered from 3M apparently was just sticker material, meaning it does not have air release. So Vivid is kind of what we're gonna have to go with. It's not terrible. I have learned how to work with Vivid, kind of, how to maneuver it. So the technique that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pre-stretch the material. The pre-stretch is what's going to allow the material to suck right back in after you've laid it everywhere. And it pretty much, kind of think of like, would be like a good example. Like imagine, I guess, if you're like, think of like when you use the vacuum suction thing. Wow, this is a really terrible example. I don't know. Anyways. I have no example. I'm sorry, I failed you guys. Okay, so what I do is I heat the material, I pull a little bit this way, and then on the edges, I'll pull out like that. Same goes right here. I'll just pull a little bit like that. And then what I'll do is you'll grab over here, and I'll just, while I'm pulling, I'm going over to this side. So before I completely lay this part down, what I want to make sure is, because I have such an abrupt corner, so to say, and so much material that really needs to go move around, what I'll do is I'll pull and hook around that corner. That corner is going to be the main point that'll, after I heat it all up, it'll suck all the material back into its place. So you want to make sure that you do all your points first, all your hard corners, so to say. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, now that I have the face down, I'll go back with the heat gun, give it just a little bit of a touch. And I'm gonna kind of massage the fingers into this recessed area. You have two recessed areas where you'll want most of the material to go into. Okay. Really hard to see. Okay. Give it a little bit more heat. And you're going towards this other point. So if you guys ever have the time, if you're learning how to wrap, look up the triangle technique. This somewhat falls into the triangle technique, where you're going to all your sharp corners and massaging the material in that shape. Kind of weird to explain. Okay, so this side is fine. Now we go over back to here. You see how after I give it a little bit of heat, it just naturally kind of glasses itself out. And that's why I do the pre-stretch technique, because that way the material just wants to lay essentially the way that you want it to lay down. Okay, cool. Now I just kind of go over, make sure all the edges are laid down. Okay, it's there. Okay. My biggest problem that I think I have with Vivid is that it's air release. Even though it has air release, it's still crappy air release. I think that's one of my main reasons why I don't like using it. So it's almost as if the bubble is just trapped right there. So what I'll have to do is I'll lift it a little bit, allow the air for it to escape, and then I just lay it back down. No big deal, but when you're doing large panels in Vivid, that's when I think it becomes more of a problem. So something to keep in mind if you're just starting how to wrap. Okay, so now I'm kind of going over some of the smaller details where I'll just kind of wrap around this edge. So there's an edge over here. What I want to do is I want to make sure that I kind of feed the material right into so-called edge, just right there. Okay. And then move the material at the same time. I don't just go straight into a finger. When you go just straight into a finger like that, it doesn't really necessarily move it around. So what I like to do, for example, we have that. So what I'll do is I'll pick it up and I'll move it to the side. So as you can see, instead of the finger, you just going right against it, you're actually moving this finger back to where it was originally from. And essentially, you could really get a lot of coverage if you follow that technique. And really, yeah. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we go over to this side. I think this headlamp becomes dull after a little bit.
I think one of the batteries wasn't charged all the way. I only had 2, and I had to grab a random one. I only had 2 fully charged ones.
Oh wow, it's okay. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing on this end. where I'm giving you a little bit of heat. Remember to put your finger against the material to keep it off of what's behind it. That way you're not just creating even more tension, but rather allowing the material to relax a little bit more and feed it in wherever you're making the material, wherever you want it to go. Okay, now that we have all the main corners down, now I'll just go over it with heat once again, just to make sure. Kind of want to watch where, if it's bunching up anywhere or anything like that. Something to keep an eye out. It doesn't hurt to go over a couple times, basically. Fresh blade. Fresh opportunities. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and cut, not right on the edge, but just a hair off. Remember last video I made, I explained how I'm running the blade not necessarily right directly against the piece, but rather at an angle. So that's what I'm doing exactly here again. Right down here, making sure that I don't cut anything behind it. Spatial awareness is really important. So it's something you get used to. You basically kind of anticipate where the like the door is, for example, or where there is paint behind where you're cutting. So just something to keep an eye out for. You know, you don't want to accidentally nick something you don't want to. So okay, and then after I give it a little bit of heat, I push down the material that's just right in there, right against the door handle, just like that. Okay, do the same thing on this side. Okay, cool. The beauty of pre-stretching a piece before laying it is that after you cut everything and you give it that little bit of heat, everything just sucks right in. It's like, I mean, I tried explaining it like earlier. I don't think I'll do any better really trying to explain what necessarily pre-stretching does, but what it does is it just returns to its natural spot, meaning it'll wrap around a corner or an edge really, really well as if it's paint. So something that takes a lot of practice, but once you kind of learn how to apply it to absolutely everything, well, granted you can't always apply it to absolutely everything, but most parts, then it makes your life incredibly easy. Okay, next part is it ends right about here. So if we look at this unwrapped one, we have an edge. And this edge, you can somewhat just barely get like your pick in there. So we'll try our best to get it as far as we can. This is why making sure you don't have any wax or any grease or anything like that is on this edge. You want to make sure you wipe it all with alcohol so that it sticks best. Okay, what I'll do now is I'll lift it up a little bit. Now I like to start from the center because I'll, for the most part, kind of work my way from the center out. So kind of peel it back up. At the same time, I'm holding, still applying that technique where I don't want my material touching the surfaces behind it. So gotta always make sure you're keeping the material off of whatever you're working on. Not the most handy tool in the house, my nail. Okay. What I'm doing with the pick is I'm just kind of attempting to kind of feed the material into that little groove as much as I can. It's so close to the actual painted part that I don't want it, I want it to grab and not just sit on the edge. I'd rather have it kind of slightly tucked in. Something is better than nothing. Okay, back over to this side. Okay, there you go. And then what I'll do is I'll just trim it right in there. The blade will just naturally fall right into the little groove over here. You'll hook it, and then you want to kind of rest the back of the blade against the lower part of it. Can't really tell the difference in the video, but I'm leaning against that painted part so that I have as much extra material to tuck in as much as I can. Okay. Alright, and I just go over with the pick and just push as much in as I can. My pick looks a little ghetto because I bite on it all the time. Usually you might have better luck with a more straighter pick, brand new pick. Don't bite your picks. Okay, so now that we got the main easy part out of the way, now we go to the more pain in the ass part. I'm just finishing up tucking over here. Okay. Go over here. There's a little air bubble. And then I'll just push down with my finger on this end right here to make sure that it's all solid. Not gonna go anywhere. Cool. Okay, so if you look in this corner, what I'll do, because I have a larger finger in here, this means that at least I have enough material to push in as much as I can. But what I'm still doing is, from this point, I'm bringing the material into the center where it'll have the least amount of tension. So I'll kind of feel for where the edge of the chrome is. So just right about there. And then I'll relief cut it. I'll make this half circle U looking thing. Okay. That'll kind of make the material relax a little bit more. And then do the same thing. Kind of want as much material as you can to be pushed into this recessed area. The more that you can get in there, the better it will be. All right. Fresh blade. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll hook from one side. You kind of get your blade in there in the little recessed area. Don't do that. Hold your blade as sturdy as you can. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of keep the blade in place so that it's not going to slip. I'm not necessarily applying a lot of pressure, I'm just keeping it in place. Go over to the other side, do the same thing. If you're ambidextrous, this is no big deal. For the non-hand switching people, this might be a little bit difficult. Takes a lot of patience, so just go slowly, don't rush it. Okay. And then, if you did this correctly, you should be able to lift it up.
Did you do it correctly?
I did it.
Nice.
And then just go over with your heat gun. And then after you go to the nail salon, you'll use your nails to push the material into the little recess there. It's essentially really exactly what's going on this side, but on the inside, just a little bit of a larger gap, so you're able to actually push the material in there. So there you go, there you have it. The last and most important step of the day, children, is post heating. So what I'll do is I'll go around all of my corners and I'll make sure that this gonna stay put. And I'll push down on it because, I mean, that's my way of obviously seeing how hot it is. Once I could actually kind of feel like I'm getting a burn, then that's when I know it's hot enough. So basically what I'm saying is burn yourself, but don't burn yourself. I never said that. And just make sure that all the little edges are down. Okay. Post heat in here. And there. There you go. That's how you do a chrome delete on a door handle without removing the door handle. Thanks for watching, guys.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
If you have questions,
Oh yeah, leave in the comment section below.
yes.
Shout out to Eddie, my boyfriend, for filming. Fantastic filmer. Look at him go. Thanks.